Good morning and welcome back to Orot HaTeshuva of Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Cook, part 20. Our learning is dedicated to the Refuah Shlema of Shimona Bas Daniela. We mentioned yesterday that Rav Kook establishes three types of tshuva. Tshuva that is natural, tshuva tiv'it, then there's tshuva emunit based on our emun, our faith, and then tshuva sichlit, intellectual tshuva. And each one is in a succession higher than the next. We talked about natural tshuva being something you feel inside, something that is back in terms of the natural order of the world, or because you know you're going to get a punishment and your body will affect your body, it will affect your spiritual well-being. And tshuva based on emunah is the same thing. I believe in Hashem and I believe there's schar va'onesh, and if I do the right thing I get reward, if I do the wrong thing I get punishment. And that idea is certainly on a very high level. There's a God in the universe, I have to listen to what he wants, I have to listen to him. However, the highest level is tshuva sichlit. What is tshuva sichlit? What is intellectual? What is tshuva based on one's das? And the Rambam tells us in the 10th chapter of Hilchos Tshuva, in the first halacha, that you shouldn't say I'm doing a mitzvah in order to receive all the brachos, or that I should have olam haba, I should have reward, that I should avoid punishment. That's the level of worshiping Hashem on a much lower intellectual level. But once you start to understand, once you develop a tarbe daitan, he says, then ya'avdu me'ahava, then you start to serve God with love. Tshuva sichlit is serving Hashem with ahava, it's serving Hashem out of a place of love. And he says that this really is the highest of all the tshuvas that one can perform. The Gemara tells us in Yoma Pevavim Beis that Reish Lakish says, Gedola tshuva shezidonos nasis lo kishkagot. Why is tshuva great? Because when you look back in your past violations, your willing violations of halacha, they become like shkagot. They were accidental. You didn't mean it. However, Reish Lakish, the very same author of that statement, tells us already that Gedola tshuva shezidonos nasis lo kizachuyos. That what is so great about tshuva? That your willing violations become merits. So we have a contradiction within the opinion of Reish Lakish, who himself is probably the most famous Baal Tshuva in all of Shas. On the one hand, he says when you do tshuva, all your past transgressions become explained away. Shkagot, accidental, I didn't mean it. If I would have known what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. However, he says, the higher level is that your zidonos, your violations, your transgressions in the past actually become your very merits. How is it possible? How do we understand the difference between the two? We can understand it based on this idea of tshuva me'ahava, the higher level of tshuva, or what Rav Kook understands, tshuva sichlit. Because if I didn't understand why I was serving God and why I was doing wrong or right in the past, then everything I did in the past is more or less an accident. I didn't have my mind straight. I wasn't thinking. I was inebriated. I was in depression. I was in a state of lust. I was in a state of excitement. I didn't know what I was doing. So when you look back on the past, you explain it away. It was just a shkaga. It was an accidental violation. But once you understand tshuva as an intellectual, as a cognitive development, therefore everything you do is out of love for Hashem, not because I'm going to be rewarded or punished, but rather I understand that every second of my life is here to serve Hashem. And even your past violations are not just explained away that I didn't have, it was an accident, but rather even that becomes a merit. Even that becomes part of a chain of events that brought you to the place where you are now. Even the Chet HaEgel, the Gemara has one opinion. It's possible to see as if that was part of the plan all along. As the Rambam writes, Ki'il lo chata me'olam. I never sinned in the first place. Now, how we get to this place where even our past transgressions are not even sins whatsoever, that's when you're serving God on a higher level of ahava. That's where there's an intellectual and cognitive connection with everything we are doing, our past, our present, and our future. And therefore, I don't explain anything away as an accident. Everything is planned. And so how do we get to a place, that's what we're going to have to focus on now, where when I turn to Hashem, I can now look back on everything I've ever done and say, really, God, it was all part of the plan. It was all focused. It was all towards you. It was all because I love you, Hashem. That's the higher level of tshuva, and that's a very high target to get to. And that's what we're going to be working towards as we get through the next two chapters of Orot HaTeshuva.